Hi, I'm Conor Kelly O'Brien. I'm an actor, writer, co-founder, and executive director of the Scranton Fringe Festival. I'm having yet another conversation with a good friend and creative colleague of mine, actor and painter Casey Thomas.
Howdy, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Another conversation.
Yet another conversation.
It's like, oh, yet another. But I'm sure you're thrilled.
I'm wonderful, and I just want everyone in the audience to know that I don't just wear the same clothes all the time. There's TV magic happening, which is Conor forgot to bring a change of clothes. So I might be wearing something similar you saw in another video.
But it's not in the script, so it's fine. Like, people's memories don't work that way. It's
Right.
fleeting.
Fleeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're looking at your hair, not your shirt.
Now they're looking at your hair. My hair just became a mouse nest in this dynamic. No, that's a compliment. You have lovely hair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions that are gonna seem silly for our dynamic, but it's important to let the scores of people out there know what's happening.
Continuity.
You are an actor and a painter.
Yes, sir.
When did you start acting?
From the very day I knew I could.
Okay. Where did you, you grew up in this region originally.
I did.
Where'd you grow up?
West Scranton.
Are you our first West? No, just me only was technically from West Scranton. But yeah,
right by Simone Daniel, who I never met until much later on. And I'm thinking, girl, I wish I met you 20 years ago. We would have been so close.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yes.
I've had this secret since we started doing this series that this is the first time that I think I mentioned Simone in the first interview we did, but I kind of want people to keep referencing and complimenting Simone Daniel, but we're not going to have her on for like months.
It's so like how Jimmy Kimmel says whatever to
Matt Damon
every night, you know.
Sorry you got cut for time, Simone.
And thanks to Simone Daniel.
Sorry, Simone, we had to cut you for time, sweetie. We'll get to you. She's going to lose her mind. Enough inside references. So you went to West Scranton High?
I did, sir.
Who were some of your theater mentors, teachers?
Oh my goodness, see, now that's where that starts. I had great teachers. Annette Palutis, who's still very much around, came to one of my last shows, which was great to see her. She was my drama teacher. She inspired a lot of kids, not just me. Anybody locally who went to West Scranton was and pursued acting in any way, shape, or form was because of Annette Palutis. And also Chris Mazzino, who was not my AP English teacher, that was Mrs. Holmes, another teacher, but he was my creative writing teacher, and also another gay man. He was a gay teacher. And he knew I was an out student, so we became friends. And he was the speech and debate coach.
Okay. He was your Eleanor.
So he was my Eleanor Langan and my confidant in gaydom, and he was a mentor in many different ways. So yes, West Scranton yielded some of the biggest influences in my life. Yeah.
He's out, right?
Of course.
Okay.
No, I didn't just out the man.
Okay.
No.
What movie is that? Remember the guy wins an Oscar?
Oh, it's In and Out.
Love that movie.
Yeah. I'm not, yeah, I could, no, we won't do that.
We won't go down your impression track. I'll get one out of you. So you've had these fabulous theater acting teachers. I want to actually backpedal real quick, because I think I want to talk about this as a gay man, but you were out in high school.
Yes.
And that was...
To my friends. I didn't come I didn't come out to my parents until I was in California, about 24. After my first breakup with a man is when I came out with my mother, because I needed someone a shoulder to cry on, even from 3,000 miles away. So I came out to her and vented all in the same conversation.
I was just going to say, even just amongst your friends in high school, in that social world, in West Scranton, in year. What?
Funny story about that. The way I did it is I told one person. The way I figured I would come out in high school was I would tell one person and then let the telephone game happen. This was 9th grade. By senior year, there were still, everybody knew, but no one ever told each other. So my little plan it backfired, because humans are inherently good.
That's a nice... Isn't
that weird?
That's a nice little...
Even at that young age, those kids knew that was information that I probably shouldn't.
And that was like the late 70s. So.
Of course. We were smoking in the bathroom and no one gave me that crap. In roller skates.
Just with your Xanadu soundtrack.
Well, they were high energy people.
If you couldn't tell, audience, that was a joke. He was not in high school in the late 70s.
No, this was 2003 I graduated.
Oh, that's really... I genuinely didn't know when you graduated.
So I was early 2000s.
Okay.
9/11, I was actually supposed to be in New York looking for auditioning for colleges, a Tuesday, I think.
Wow.
I took school off, and we didn't end up going.
I was in 4th grade, and I had just had my first girlfriend.
Were you really in 4th grade?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was in 4th grade. Real quick, because I've sold this story in Story Slams in Edinburgh before. quick little personal note, audience. So I got a girlfriend the day before. She was a beautiful, intelligent young woman. Her name was America. And we were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And we go into school the next day, and all that meant was we would sit and eat lunch together in 4th grade. And all of a sudden in string class, they whip us out of there, they throw us in this room and make us watch the news footage of the second tower falling.
Just you in America, or
No,
everybody?
the
I was
whole
gonna
class.
say, like,
No, the
get
whole
the
class.
couple, get the young couple.
We were
They
the
need to see this.
we were the power couple. They wanted to. No, it was just this. No, it was just these two people, and we were forced to watch.
Forced to watch the most important event.
Well, I mean, I'm saying like with the whole, everyone was though, but no context because no one knew it was going. And then later that day on the playground, she broke up with me because, and I quote, there was too much going on.
Well, her name was America.
America dumped me on 9/11.
Can I just? That's good television. folks.
Isn't that good content? Even if it's not true.
The worst part about the story is you were in 4th grade when it happened.
Well, for your age, for the age dynamic.
Yeah.
So moving on. So you didn't end up in New York though. You went to Los Angeles, correct?
My first initial thought was to go to New York. I auditioned for colleges. I was accepted into many of them, and my father said, "I'm not going to spend $100,000 plus for you to go and struggle doing something that you've already been doing, and you don't need a piece of paper to say you could do." So I took his advice, and I moved to LA on a whim. After I graduated high school, I messed around in Scranton, and I think maybe I was late 18, almost 19 before I decided to just...
And how many years did you spend out in LA?
About 6.
And in a very, because we've eaten up a lot of our time already with our nonsense, in a very simple way, what was your experience like there, personal and career-wise?
Surreal, because I was out there alone, so I had no one else to experience it with, so everything that was happening was very surreal. No one would believe this, and I could never tell the story if I wanted to, because I'd sound like a big shot. So I worked in TV and film. I met many celebrities. I was thrust into Hollywood, literally thrust into Hollywood, and was told to roll with the punches, and I did. And go along to get along, you know what I mean? So I was starry-eyed, but I worked consistently. I had a lot of help from friends. I joined the union immediately.
When you say union?
The Screen Actors Guild, which is usually very difficult to get into. I was luckily as soon as I got there, I was introduced to a friend through a family member who was working on The OC and Gilmore Girls and a few other things at the time.
Wow, we are dating ourselves here.
Yeah, well, this is when it was. So he was immediately able to I was handed a lot immediately, and ultimately after the 6 years, basically. I ended up fumbling it all, but I worked.
I have no doubt you were lucky and fortunate in some ways, but I think you're not giving yourself credit. I think you're just nice to be around, and I think you're funny and charming. No, but the point I'm trying to make is that I talk about this with people all the time, that talent matters. Unfortunately, appearance in this industry, just depending on what you're going after, does matter. But do you want to be with, especially on sets, on film and TV sets, do I want to be with this person for a 12-hour day?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And sets become very much like family. So what happened to me was I got very comfortable being a stand-in and being around, working on projects for a lengthy period of time and the camaraderie. And then I spent very little time on myself auditioning and pursuing my own career. Can you,
I don't know if you're legally allowed to, can you say some of the people you were common stand-ins for?
Yeah, well, Jake Gyllenhaal was someone who I was more steadily a double for or stand-in.
And for those who may not know, what does that entail?
Well, a stand-in is someone who will come in and work with the director and the director of photography to set up the shot and the lights while the expensive actors go and get their makeup, smoke cigarettes, do whatever illicit activities they want to do. So then I step in, they mark their marks, set the lights, set the scene, and then the actors come in and I say, this is what you're going to do, and this is what the camera does, and then
And you go do your illicit.
Then swap. And they actually call you second team. So first team leaves, second team in. So yes, when first team's done being illicit, second team goes and be in the.
You named a couple. Can you rattle off? I know the list goes on. Can you rattle off a few other known titles and franchises you've been a part of?
Well, sure, yeah, because eventually through stand-in work and all that, I did get asked to do some great things. I had several parts on Reno 911. 2 times they gave me things to do. The OC, I had a part in Gilmore Girls. I was upgraded with lines here and there. CSI New York. I was upgraded in Blades of Glory. There was one Drew Barrymore film too, Lucky 7 or something to that effect. Bobby was a film I worked on for a great length of time, but I know that never made it to the. I know that's not in the film because I've actually seen it. Those other ones I've never seen.
So.
Or the TV shows. I've never seen myself on television.
Me either.
Because I've worked, when you're in LA, you're working so consistently every day on a new project that you don't have time to like, it loses the excitement. Like, ooh.
I think it was 2 years ago, I had my first and by the way, when I say significant, it was like one of those, reenactment shows on the Travel Channel. But it got like major screen time. I was getting tagged online all the time. I could not physically sit and watch it.
Well, it's hard.
It's painful. I can't watch this.
Certain times I could, it depends. I've gone back and watched certain plays and I've been okay with it. It starts off creepy, but then I get used to it. And sometimes I find it beneficial.
I can listen to my voice. Like some people have that thing where they can't hear themselves talk. Yeah. I can listen to my voice, no problem. I think my mouth moves weird. It's the physical action of seeing me. It's not just insecurity. It's bizarre.
Right, it's very common. I think it's a human thing. Seeing yourself outside yourself is.
We're not meant to. We're not meant for that.
No.
Right, and we don't look. You never look on camera the way you think you look in a mirror.
Of course, you're seeing what other people see of you, and it's always different from the reverb in your head.
So you're having this career out in Los Angeles, and yet you come back to good old Northeast Pennsylvania.
I did.
Why?
I got a DUI. Actually, I'll chalk it up to love. I fell in love with a Marine. I went to San Diego to work on a soap opera, and when I was there for a few months, San Diego was so beautiful and gorgeous. I got not a hotel. I got an apartment. I got a boyfriend for the first time, a beautiful Marine, and that led me off track. I got a little unfocused. I still did stuff in LA, still did the same thing, but it wasn't. I lost focus. I got a DUI while in San Diego with him because of him. I'll straight up blame him.
Good.
Which led me down I was not a bad person. I didn't even drink a lot. I don't really drink at all. I got a DUI picking him up from work because he couldn't drive because he got a DUI, for reference.
It sounded like a good dynamic.
Toxic relationship.
Yeah.
The first ones are always the best, but they're not meant to be.
Are you two in touch?
We are. He's gone through, one of the steps in their process is to call and give all the apologies to people you may have heard in the past. So I've gotten the apology.
Can you imagine if, because of the power of social media, you saw him post that's the step I'm on, and then I just see like a montage of you for a week just like waiting by the phone.
Like, I better be on that list.
I'm waiting for you can't you call off work. You're like, I'm waiting for an important call.
Yeah, no. I need it to move on.
And then he calls you to get an apology from you about something.
Yeah, but then I just
go off
self-destruct.
Yeah.
Into confetti.
I think this is a good narrative
like
we've
Rip
created.
Torn. But that's why I ended back in LA. Basically, I got the DUI, then I got caught driving on my suspended license because, of course, I wasn't going to really stop driving.
Casey.
So I was young. And like I said, I was handed so much. I fell in love. I fumbled a fledgling career because it sucks. At the time, I was doing very well. And who knows what could have been. But I ended up back home, and I have no regrets because what happened from there has led me here, and it's wonderful.
So you come back to Northeast Pennsylvania to kind of have breath and regroup and settle in. You start doing local theater. After
a year, I did have a year of depression. Let's not pretend it was.
No, it's important.
Like I was really upset to have to come home, but after that, maybe about 6 to 9 months of depression, then I got back into theater.
Was theater what got you out of the depression, or was it just?
It was a couple of different things. I got a phone call from Kate, blonde hair. Oh goodness, Kate McDonald. Kate McDonald called me and she said, "Hey, we're doing this show up at Keystone called The Drowsy Chaperone, and
that's a cute show.
There's this great little part for you. It's less than 6 lines, little solo. I think it'll be great." She knew I was home, and this was a girl I had done stuff with when we were kids. She was my first onstage kiss, so we had a history. She's like, "Come be in the show." I had just met Graham, my still current boyfriend of 8 years. So I had a new relationship. I had just been called to ask to come and do a little theater show. So a man thrust me out of movies and TV, and a man picked me back up into theater.
You also helped pick yourself back up.
Of course. But to have somebody to do it for other than yourself was an outside motivator was helpful. I'm not going to say, "A man got me." No. Graham isn't that type of guy anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it all happened to coincide.
Yeah.
Me meeting Graham, getting that phone call, doing that part in the moment.
Sometimes a community is two people.
I stole that show. I stole the Drowsy Chaperone with Underling. With a look, Conor O'Brien, with a look.
I believe. I don't.
The whole cast
I
will
completely
tell
believe you. I completely believe you. Just the way you said it.
Once
just
I
killed
did
me.
that, my ego went boom.
Oh, that's when it happened.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know. So, so let's jump ahead a little bit. Let's jump ahead a little bit. No one has made me break like this in an interview. So you're doing local theater, you know, amateur, college, some professional, here and there, you know, because our region, I think that's a big important conversation. Our region does have regional professional theater.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There is, and I think there's in my opinion, agree or disagree, there is a distinction between community
Absolutely.
and professional. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to list and say who does what or whatever.
There's definitely a distinction between.
So I've mentioned it before in these conversations. So I used to run a space in downtown Scranton with Teresa O'Connor called The Vintage. And it was a performing visual literary space. And out of that was born a resident acting ensemble, which, you know, touts itself as a professional group.
Absolutely.
And has continued on as now under the brand of New Vintage Ensemble. It's actually been New Vintage more than it's ever been just Vintage Ensemble.
Right.
And the first thing we ever did, May of 2013, was a 1960s, American 1960s inspired adaptation of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, where I was helping the director, Maggie, look for the right Mr. Darcy. I wound up filling in the supporting character. You know, I play second bananas very well. And someone had suggested you, and you were doing a show in Providence, the Providence
Busybody.
Playhouse.
The worst show ever. That's why I remember. It was 3 hours, and you came to see it to like scout me. So thank you.
I was with my.
He was walking out quickly with a trench coat on. Hi, bye, like, you know. No, maybe we spoke the first time. I don't remember.
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. I said, or did we talk on the phone?
I don't. You called me. Yeah.
We were talking on the phone.
We
talked on the phone. I had an office job at the time, and I had to like sneak out in the hallway on my like 10-minute break to be like big time producer, like like as I'm like pretending not to be working on the clock. And and someone had recommended you. They said he's handsome, he's talented, he'll be perfect. I went and saw you. Back to the director. I'm like, he's really, really good. Bring him in for an audition. Brought you in for an audition. The rest is history. We've worked together pretty off and on consistently since then. So
we've been intertwined, mind, body, and spirit.
I know.
Whether we go lengths of time without seeing or working with each other, but that doesn't matter.
Let's talk about us real quick.
Sure.
Let's go about that. So we've worked on. I've directed you. You've directed me.
Yes.
We have acted together.
Yeah.
Here and there.
We've had about every dynamic.
We've had about every dynamic
a couple can have
in a platonic, professional,
Right.
and friendship.
Right.
What? Why do you think we mesh creatively the way we do? And just for the sake of fun, we sometimes do butt heads pretty epically.
Many different. I could do this.
Okay.
You're someone who gets things done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who's working on that, and it's getting much better.
You are. You're here.
Right. No, I keep moving forward. I'm one foot in front of the other sort of guy. When I met you, I was immediately inspired by you.
That's very sweet.
Inspired by your intelligence, your talent, your ingenuity, and your focus.
I really didn't mean for this to be a compliment fest.
No,
I'm so sorry.
this is a fact. And anyone who knows you can attest to
That's
it.
very sweet.
The reason you and I work so well together is because you bring out the best in me, and I think I push you in a
I'll return the
way.
favor. I'll return the favor. I think you are incredibly. You're incredibly intelligent. You're incredibly talented. That goes without saying. But what I really respect about you, especially in a theater sense, in a writing and directing sense, you can get these vast, deep points across with like 2 notes. Like you know exactly what you want out of an actor, or out of a script, or out of a fellow performer, and you can just, you know. I remember when we were doing Hamlet, and you gave me a note. I'm really trying to remember it, but it was something I was really struggling with, and you just said. Ba 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 ba. It was exactly what I needed to hear.
Right.
It was exactly the dynamic.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because you know, as a director, you're always self-conscious about.
But I think you and I, I think you and I agree on the same school of thought that I believe in the abstract. I believe in the workshop process. Let's rip something apart. Let's talk about it 100 ways from Sunday. There does come a point when you're in the room, wear the wig and do the job.
Right, yeah.
Because that's the fun. If we're here to play, you sometimes just have to play.
Well, you taught me a valuable lesson during our talent.
What was that?
Well, we were doing rehearsals, and you were trying to get us together to do exercises.
I stand by that, by the way.
Listen,
Your stupid attitude.
Let me finish the story.
All right.
Because it started off as exercises. But now I'm one of those actors, of course, I'm being bougie right now. Mm-hmm. Exercises are so valuable. Mm-hmm. It was just the fact...
It was coming from me?
When I sat down and self-examined, I'm like, it's not the exercises I was upset about. I just didn't want to be told what to do by Conor.
Yeah.
Which is so petty.
It's so petty. Well,
I got over it.
I'll also return the favor that when we were doing Hamlet, and by the way, that was a lovely show, and I had for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, and any gender identifications out there, I had just finished the To Be or To Not To Be monologue for the first time in this giant room, and I was like, done, perfect. I waited. I just shouted into the darkness, Casey, do you have any notes? And then I forget who it was, but from the back, I just hear someone very clearly nervous just go, he went out for a smoke break 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I wanted to rip your head out of
Folks,
its socket.
for those of you who don't know, that defines me. And it's probably so annoying. I'll be right back. I brought an e-cigarette.
But I do firmly believe that sometimes the people that, and Simone Daniel is one of them.
My father asked me, he said, why do you smoke? It doesn't do anything for you. I said, I was born to smoke. He agreed. I said, I'm sorry. Now I will quit, and I'm trying to quit, but it's too intertwined with my
psyche
and my.
It's addictive. I mean, it's literally.
Well, the most addictive thing. Right. Not to mention now when I'm editing videos that I'm doing now, it's like what goes better with editing a video than a cigarette? What goes better? I'm online smoking cigarettes in front of the public.
We're going to get back to your video things in just 2 seconds.
Sure.
The point I wanted to wrap this up is. People like in my life, like you and Simone and Liz and Teresa, and I mean so many of my collaborators from here in New York and that I've worked with, the best people I work with are people who share a very core creative philosophy with me, but who are able to shut me down. And I think you're the same way. We don't get, like you just said, we don't take authority always really well.
Right.
And I think that you need someone in the room to go like, no, you can be better. Because we're so used to being the ones in the room trying to make something happen.
Well, you pick and choose your crowd, and then you end up with the people you found to be your tribe.
And that's why I love working. The only theater company in the area in this area when I'm not in New York that I work with is New Vintage because and not that there isn't other wonderful groups and wonderful people, I just like working with a core
When
group.
you find a tribe that is of a like mind.
Yeah.
And you want to keep that growing. Don't be, inclusive.
No.
If there are other people that want to come into the mix.
No, we've added Terry and Chantel and Sarah since the beginning.
The New Vintage was always open, and that was the best thing about the New Vintage. After every project we did, there were new people allowed to be involved, and then new people that were.
But it was as a process through guest artists that they could, for lack of a better term, they could hang.
Right.
And
exactly.
And by the way, when I say hang at our level doesn't mean that we're inherently better.
No.
But it's just a rhythm.
Well, you don't want, you want to keep the biggest thing you want to have when you're trying to create a play, it's already tense to begin with, but you want to make sure you have a good vibe and a good energy. So it's very important. It's a personality issue.
And I will also say, not that we always can, because sometimes our performances are so low budget that they're basically benefits and fundraisers.
Yeah.
But I will also say that we've been very fortunate to have produced a few times as a resident of the Cultural Center in that beautiful Champlain Hall venue.
Yeah.
But I am a firm believer in if you can give someone for their acting time $100, $200, it's not that the money makes them a better performer, but it's
validation.
It's validation, but it is also letting go of like my gas is covered for the next couple weeks.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like the money I'm spending on my quote unquote passion isn't draining me.
Oh.
So when I'm in this room, I can focus on this room. I mean, you and I and a few others in the group do this all the time for a living. Others took other paths. Now, but for the sake of time, I want to move on to, so through this work and being in the area, I want to clarify, you kind of took a break from professional film and television work, but you're now getting back into
it. Since September, you know, after I took an 8-year break coming home, my Screen Actors Guild status was, unbeknownst to me, terminated. I didn't know. It's like, oh, well, I hadn't worked actively, so they just thought I fell off the face of the earth.
It's a union. I mean, they want,
right.
Yeah.
But I should have done this a long time ago, but through Kimmy Leff and signing up with this agency in Philadelphia, luckily I got my union status back up and running, and I'm back on TV and film.
Right. Now, you have you're working on a film with a very big name director. Can we say what it is or no?
It's M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh.
It's M. Night Shyamalan.
There we go.
Handpicked. That's all I know. But it's literally all I know. So.
Do we know anything about what it is yet?
I'm a messenger. I'm a messenger.
Okay, we'll leave it there because I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a messenger.
That's fantastic. So, but you still haven't given up your own work that you're creating.
No.
So you've been lately doing kind of a podcast / web series that's done in like a vlog style.
Yeah, I started off not knowing what the heck I was doing. I started off knowing I wanted a microphone.
Why?
For Christmas. Well, I always wanted to start a podcast of some sort, just because I found out on YouTube that there's a whole world out there of people who talk to each other through the camera. And I found some of it fascinating. And I also have other people that inspired me. You know, the Joe Rogan podcast I love, and the people he interviewed. And then I saw other people on YouTube doing fun things like reviewing movies and so on and so forth. So I had like just a growing seed of a want.
I know you're still developing it, but at its center, what do you want your?
Oh well, it is up and moving. It's sort of outgrown my ability to hold on to it. It's going to be a podcast web series vlog, pretty much. It's going to be put up on YouTube. As of now, it's incrementally, I've been putting things up on my Facebook page.
Okay.
Casey Thomas on Facebook. I do have a YouTube page. However, it's in the process of sort of being jazzed up. YouTube actually sent me an email telling me that they'll work with me step by step in order to help gain more viewership and the proper things to do. So
they want you to be a content creator.
Well, if that's the path I'm going to take, they're saying we'll show you how to do it.
Cool.
So I'm in the process of making that a little bit more attainable for people, but very shortly there will be links to YouTube. The project is a podcast. You could listen to this just as a podcast. So as you and I were speaking about the other day, there are other outlets I would like to look into as far as just streaming it, a streaming service. I don't know, you said iTunes likes to normally have something already seen or something you already have.
It's just a process. They just want to vet you before they put. It's just a process.
So this could, for all intents and purposes, be just a podcast, but it's not because I'm filming the whole process in real time. I'm going to try.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something interesting before we started filming that, and we're not going to go into too much detail, but eventually you want this podcast, vlog, web series to somehow culminate, or at least at some point arrive at a point where you transition it immediately to a live event, a real event.
Well, yeah, well, that's one project. So the project I'm working on now is that. After a few months, there will be a live show at the end of it. So in real time, what I mean is as my podcast vlogs come out, it will all lead up to 6th episode, and then
there is some kind of an event.
And then a live show for the audience or other people to come and enjoy.
What makes you want to do something like that?
I didn't start off with that idea. That's evolution, baby. I didn't make that up.
Because of your idea or because of people you've been collaborating with?
Well, no, because the desire to do something with the podcast, but I figured I had to have something content. So I figured a little mini project that I could slice up into several episodes would be a good starting point. Speaking
of collaboration and people you work with in this region theatrically, we've sung the praises a little bit of New Vintage Ensemble. Are there any other groups, people that really inspire you, influence you, or is there anything in general statement, local theater? Locally,
everybody. I mean, everybody. Luckily I've been able, especially in Scranton, not so much Wilkes-Barre, but I know a lot of Wilkes-Barre actors. There's not one person I want to say that I've met that I don't like. I might have made fun of them a couple times behind their back, but they make fun of me a couple times behind my back, so it doesn't matter.
But you've been able to gain something from every experience.
Everyone's so supportive of each other, it doesn't matter. And they're each a character.
Now let me ask you this, and really without being specific. I'm sure that you've come across a limited number of people, or maybe an organization or a group that you didn't blend and vibe with. What What, as an artist, as an individual, what do you do when you experience something like that?
Well, let me tell you. You disengage. You do your swan song, and then you ghost them for a while.
You don't burn the bridge.
No.
You don't set the bridge on fire.
Right. Without naming any names, I did a fabulous last show there that I was deeply proud of. It took place in the summer, so it didn't get, and it wasn't handled the best, so we didn't get as many people to come and see it as we should have, but it was a beautiful, gorgeous show, and then I took a break.
Whatever organization you're talking about.
Actors Circle.
Okay. And you don't think you'll go back there?
No, I will. Of course I will.
Oh, okay.
But no, of course, when you work with any group of people, they get you to a point where it's like, oh, you people. So I had to step back. But that's the only one. You know, that's the only one I could say. And I say that out of tough love. I love them all.
Yeah.
And I still talk to
And you've worked with that
Kathy
organization a
Strouch,
lot.
John McInerney, I'm going to see him tomorrow. He's coming to my meeting. He's going to be involved in my
Very cool.
podcast.
To be very fair, I've never worked with that organization. No, I've never done a show there when I was younger. But I know you enough to know that in that organization,
They've been a home to me,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
DTW. I don't want to say anything. They're wonderful.
Yeah, but I think that collaboration sometimes does come to an end or comes to a hiatus. I mean, you and I have had projects that we've worked on, and we work on it solidly nonstop for 3 months, and then it's like
fizzles.
And sometimes that's just because
Life.
I have work. I have to go I have to go pay the bills.
Well, I think that's another reason why we sort of understand each other and can work well together, because we have the same sort of.
Isn't it interesting that you and I both, right out of high school, went into the professional, some facet of the professional world of this industry?
One of the most important things to me was legitimacy. Not because of my own ego, but because everyone growing up told me that was silly to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's your fallback?
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a fallback. I had a fake fallback, anthropology, which would have been nice. I would have liked to have gone around, studied groups, and wrote books about, tribes or whatever. Mm-hmm. That would have been my very unhappy. I probably would have been an alcoholic. I'm guessing. Yeah, good chances. But I think that's because my whole life, acting has always been made to seem illegitimate.
If you had to describe Northeast Pennsylvania's overall art scene in one word, what would you pick?
Fledgling.
Really?
Yeah. Am I using that? Oh, no. I take that back. The opposite of fledgling. I don't want to say just expanding or growing, because that seems so like boring.
Evolving?
No, because it's evolving, sure.
To steal a word you
but
used
ever growing. I feel like with you especially, and since I saw a regeneration. I saw a quick pulse from the defibrillator in the arts community around here, and a lot of it had to do with traveling with you to Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And
when we did the Kansas City Fringe Festival.
Yeah, and then you hauling your butt and making that happen. Yeah. I'll be a part of the conversation and the helping empower you in the lake that day when you brought it up. But you did all the, next thing you know, we have a Scranton Fringe. And aside from that, even the vintage. I think you're a very big part of that. And I've seen that heartbeat.
And I'm super grateful for you being a collaborator, and there's so much that you've accomplished in this community.
And likewise for giving me those opportunities.
Well, that's awesome. I wish we could talk more about it, but to wrap up our conversation, I want to ask you a series of some silly, personal questions. I've been doing them, I haven't been following a particular order, but everyone that's been sitting here, I want to get a better sense of them. What time of the day do you usually wake up?
That depends on the day. That depends on the day. But if I have slept any longer than 9 a.m., I feel bad about myself as a person.
Coffee or tea?
Both.
What's your favorite color?
Off-white, but that's, oh, God. You know what I mean?
I just love that reaction.
It's tough because there's so many. It's a spectrum.
What's your favorite book, movie, or TV show that you've read or seen?
Fleabag.
Isn't that amazing? Did you watch both seasons?
And that's why I'll tell you why. Season 1, I was so mad when I heard she was coming out to season 2 because I said, how dare she? The first was so perfect. And then she comes out with a whopper and a wonderful ending to a beautiful series.
Is there a particular quote from a famous person or someone in your life that comes to mind that really speaks to you?
Oh, God, there are many. And I love my father, but I don't want to give him that much credit on any platform, Daddy. I would say from my mother, who's passed away.
Yeah.
No matter what, and this might not make much sense, but no matter what, the money will always be there. And basically what that means is no matter what, if you're doing right, you'll be okay.
That's beautiful. I am going to ask you one
USOB.
sillier question. You okay?
Yeah, no, of
That
course.
was beautiful. I'm going to ask you one sillier question to end this on a slightly different note. This has been the most controversial question I've asked almost everyone.
Adesso.
Okay, to be fair, he was off camera
I heard.
with my conversation with someone else earlier today.
Yes.
Is that what you'd honestly say?
Absolutely.
Your favorite coffee shop in Northeast Pennsylvania?
I was originally because I had some canned answers, guys. Sorry, but what I was originally going to say was, should I say Northern Lights just because everyone's been saying Adesso? So maybe you can.
No, I want your honest answer.
Adesso, because of previously said, you can't beat it. The location's beautiful, and it makes you feel like you're somewhere else.
I'm getting almost disgusted with how much we talk about Adesso on the show because it's like with.
And they've been a wonderful space for invitations to the arts, inviting us.
They are.
I wrote the entirety of Van Life pretty much outside smoking cigarettes at Adesso with
We
Kimmy
didn't need to
Left.
talk about Van. You're going to have to come back.
Yeah,
we're going to have to do a
great.
part 2 on this.
Well, go to my Facebook and catch up on Van Life.
I've been talking with Casey Thomas, actor and painter. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Until next time, I've been Conor Kelly O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.